Hey everyone, Big Willy here from Big Willy's Fab Shop. That is right, we got two cameras going. Wow, look at us grow. Anyways, let's get into it. Today I'm very excited. SALTGATOR reached out and asked if I'd be interested in doing a review on their product. Well, you might be asking yourself, what is SALTGATOR? Who is SALTGATOR? Well, that's a very solid question. They created the world's first desktop soft plastic injection machine, and it's pretty neat. This thing actually claims to bring factory level molding right to your workbench, as we're right here, workbench. That's right, in my garage. And as someone who builds types and all kind of weird little gadgets like I do, I had to try it. So let's jump into it, unbox this thing, test it out, and give my feedback. On the old unit. But overall first impression, very nice box. And what's really cool, directions. You don't see that much anymore. And then get into the bread and butter. Look at this unit. Very well packaged. So you got your main injection unit here. You got the base unit. It controls your temperature, material, heating, all that. And it controls it, and then all the actual heating itself and mixing happens in the injection unit itself as well. And then they also sent over some pre-made molds. So once you get it, you can actually test out your machine right away. And then you got some seals and some replacement parts. Pretty sweet. And then actually little clamps there, so you can clamp your molds together. But overall, very well, nice packaged. But let's jump into that. So, first impressions here, very solid. Feels nice to the touch. Nice, durable plastic. Nice, satisfying plunger on there, and then the nozzle, very well satisfying too. Yeah, overall it feels like a pretty solid unit. Nice thing about this is everything is housed inside of this tube itself, and it's sealed, so you don't get no sketchy fumes, and it's all enclosed here. No open flames. Everything is nice and sealed. And the cool thing is, when this thing is up to 210 Celsius, it stays cool to the touch on the outside. So you don't have to worry about burning your fingers, none of that. Controls are pretty straightforward. It's a 3-button operation, and they have a nice video demonstration of how to use it. So I won't go over it in this video, but if you go on SALTGATOR's YouTube, they show you exactly how to use this. Kind of looking at the molds that they provided. Nothing special here. You have gummy bear, and then not gummy bear. It's not edible, but they got a little bear in there, and their SALTGATOR logo, and then some fishing lures. Nice thing about this unit is you can actually 3D print your own molds. You don't need any fancy high-tech molds. You can just 3D print your own molds out of ordinary materials. You can use PETG, you can use PLA. You can use resin. Really, whatever you have, you can most likely use with this SALTGATOR. And it really depends on kind of what material you're using. Some material like ABS will stick to this type of PVC material. So that's just one thing to note, but PETG and PVC, they don't really adhere the best, so that's perfect for using molds. But then also another thing is temperature wise. Now it actually is, yeah, it's heating inside of here, depending on what material you have. It could be up to 210 degrees Celsius, but when it's actually exiting the nozzle here, it's actually quite a bit lower. So you don't have to worry about melting your mold or anything like that. It works pretty dang slick. that is pretty much the extent of this. Does all the fancy stuff, and it actually is coated on the inside of that barrel, so it's pretty slick to clean out too. Pretty easy. No special required tools to clean it out. Pretty straightforward. There's that little mixer on there that mixes the material. You don't have to use SALTGATOR's material, although it is recommended, but you can use other materials along with it, and you can use other types. There's multiple different other types of materials that you could use. Yeah, along with this PVC type, you can actually use some vinyl-based material. You can use a polyurethane type of material in this unit, multiple other different types, and the benefit of this is that it will mix it and also will heat it. Like I mentioned, heating range is between 80 Celsius to 210 degrees Celsius. With that, they give you the opportunity to not be stuck down into some special unique materials that you have to use from them, and glad to see you. So first steps here is pretty self-explanatory. You know, you plug your dongle in, your plug-in. You make sure that your nozzle is on the lock position, so when you fill it up, it doesn't leak out everywhere, because you don't really want that. But yeah, make sure your nozzle is good and seated, screwed in there properly, and is on the little lock position. Set that in there, and then on the top, when it is heating, and to take the plunger out, you want it on the unlock position on the top. This is the vent. So yeah, you pull that out, and then you can get your material. And let's just do a 0A durometer. Just shake it up. Now I'm using, again, SALTGATOR SoftGel material. This is a PVC type material. Fill it up to the desired level that you want it. Let's just start with the minimum. Now, again, you put the top on, you got 2 marks up here, you line that up to there as a reference to make sure that it is heated correctly. Nice thing with SALTGATOR material, they have a preset in here, so I'll click 0 durometer, normal. But yeah, so that's going right now, that's mixing it, that's heating it all in one. And then now we'll take the molds, and let's just use these guys. And there is an insert for the SALTGATOR logo, but let's see what it does without it. I could use the clamps that they provided, but I got a vise right here, so. And the nice thing about this is after you have your mold printed, you could have a product in your hand within 20 minutes. You inject the material into your molds. It takes about 3 minutes to cool down, and then after that, it's ready to use. So it's pretty slick. Our waste bucket. So we'll purge out the first little bit on the bottom where the nozzle is, because it can't mix it and it doesn't get heat down there. That just, like anything, you gotta do a purge. You can actually dye this, so you can have multiple different dyes. You can have some translucent colors in there. And overall, this thing is pretty dang quiet. You can listen to it. There's a little spinny thing going in there. So I actually did this wrong. I actually moved the plunger down a little bit. I actually want it all the way up top. I don't think it shouldn't matter too much since we're all the way down in the minimum level, but this just gives it extra volume in there, so that material is not hitting the plunger. So, just a quick note, I did it wrong. Make sure you fully read the directions all the way through, or remember the directions, I should say. All right, and I'll give you a couple beeps. The stirring process turned off. You wait until it says ready on the bottom, so it's still heating up here. All right, with that, it says it's completed. Now, the biggest thing is make sure you hit the power switch on the back. Potentially, it could burn out the circuit board in there, as I've seen on their YouTube video. They're pretty adamant on turning that off before removing the device. But with that, now you can turn the knob to the lock position, and then we can move the nozzle on the bottom to the unlock position, and then we can just purge out that material. So you can see now it's all nice and clear. So now we'll move over to our mold and push the mold down until it's stiff, and then move over to the other mold. Push the plunger down until it's stiff, and then she is golden. But the nice thing with this stuff is you can actually reuse the waste material. So break it up into small little pieces, and you can drop it back in there and you can reuse it, because it will heat it back up and then it will mix it itself. So you'll inject it into the molds and wait about 3 minutes to let the mold cool down. Now I don't think I waited 3 minutes, but we'll see what happens here. But yeah, oh, look at that, still a little warm. Let's try to pop this off. Looking at the old little berry here, we do have some air pockets in there. That's partially because I just didn't push hard enough in there to push all that out, and I probably should have moved a little faster instead of dilly-dallying over on the waste bucket. But it is what it is. And on the SALTGATOR logo, it came out pretty dang clean. It's one of those technique things, and you kind of get the feel for it. But overall, the quality on it, man, look at that. If you try to 3D print something out of TPU in this guy, you know, you'll have TPU spaghetti everywhere, and it would not look as nice as that. Yeah, and you can't get 0 Andrometer, a TPU, and a FDM printer. You would have to kind of jump over to a resin printer. Not everyone has one of those. So this is another benefit, is you don't need a resin printer. You don't have to deal with all those chemicals and resin and grossness to get flexible material. You can use the SALTGATOR. You may be telling yourself, well, I don't want to print little gummy bears and little fishing worms and, you know, oh yes, I want to actually do something usable. Well, I got you here. I actually want to prototype some rubber grommets that I worked on my 58. I printed some TPU on my 58 here, and I was just using 90 Andrometer TPU filament on my FDM printer, and I am going to show you the molds that I created. Now, I created them myself. You can reach out to SALTGATOR themselves and have them assist you in designing your molds. They're super helpful over there, and they'll give you any assistance that you need. They also have a little library over there, so you can scroll through on their website, and they'll have other molds that they have created that aren't fishing worms or little lures or whatever. But for me, I want to try to print some of my rubber grommets and see how they turn out. Right now I'll be using this PVA. In the future, I'm probably gonna get some polyurethane, but for now this is all I have. But it'll be the same process, and overall the same kind of showing you how the actual real world application could be used instead of your little gummy worms or gummy bears, not edible. All right, after this cooled, I'll show you how easy it is to clean. So move it to unlock, twist the top, and then you can pull it out. And then you take the nozzle, twist it off, and boom, the barrel's pretty much clean. Now, I didn't really reuse, or I didn't use it all here, but nice thing with this material is you can reuse it. So kind of pull it all the nozzle as much as you can, and you take their screwdriver that they provided, and you just kind of start working that material out. You just keep on doing that a few times until it's durable. You can go back the other way too. You kind of just, and then normally I just take a little rag and start wiping things off here. nozzle is done. And then moving over to your plunger, just make sure there's no debris underneath this lip here, because that's the exhaust. And then your barrel, overall that's pretty dang clean. So let's do a little wipe. The nice thing with this barrel is there's a non-stick coating in there, so it wipes right off. So I just whipped up this model for this grommet that I am going to make here. So I printed this on my 58 project on my printer out of TPU. And some of these smaller designs, it's kind of a little difficult, and especially with PETG or with TPU, it gets so stringy. So I printed this mold, whipped it up in, I don't know, half an hour, and we're gonna do the same injection process, pretty dang simple. Not the same process. We're actually gonna try to reuse this old material. So let's give that a go. So I think we'll need a scissors. Cut it up here. Recycle setting. So we'll click that. Along with using the recycled material, you have to actually use some raw material as well. You have to put a little bit in there. So don't forget that. Over to your mold. I think it's been 3 minutes, I don't know. Probably not, but I'm impatient. Oops. Ooh, that looked pretty good in there. So far, so good. And this is 0A hydrometer. Realistically, I should have used 40, but I wanted to show you the reuse process. So it's solidified enough. Looks like it did. That's actually pretty good. So there's a nice little groove in there. And what I have done is it fits in a sheet metal hole that I cut. There's a little notch in there because fitment, but fits in there. And you put your wire loom in here, and then you kind of shove it, work it in the hole, so the sheet metal sits in between this groove in here. And I made it a little oversized, so once you squeeze it down, the wire is kind of self-locks when you kind of push it in the undersized hole to keep that wire loom nice and secure. But yeah, overall, that turned out pretty dang good. Moving forward, I'll probably do like a 40 hydrometer and maybe use a little different type of plastic here, or soft gel plastic, and then dye it as well, dye it black. But overall, from designing this mold to printing the mold, that took, I don't know, an hour. And but if you already had this designed and printed, takes less than 20 minutes to make a part. It's pretty freaking simple and easy to do. And then kind of really this got me thinking, what else could I make? Well, I'm actually working on stay tuned for this, I'm working on a little electronic device. And I want little push buttons, kind of like a TV remote, or the old school TV remotes. I should say old school, I should say like the 2000s push button remotes. And I kind of want to make something like that. And the beauty of that is, before I was just going to TPU, and something that small, that's going to be difficult on a FDM printer with TPU. Asking a lot. But with the beauty, I can use the SALTGATOR now and make something actually pretty dang good. And then along with the different durometers, I can actually make a hybrid structure. So adhering this soft material to something stiffer like ABS or another plastic like that. So, and also multicolor injection. So I can do multicolor, glitter, whatever you want. So this really opens up a whole new world for small batch parts. And really, after using this thing for a bit, my honest take is, if you're a maker, angler, DIYer, or just like to have total control over your parts, this is a game changer. Fast, safe, and way more flexible than trying to print soft materials. The fact that you can go from CAD, 3D printed mold, soft parts in under 20 minutes, depending on how fast you are CAD and printing the parts. But once you got the mold, with less than 20 minutes, you can have actually a part in your hand. So if you want to check out SaltGator yourself, hit the links down below and get 15% off using the link in my description. That greatly helps out my channel and helps keep projects like this going, because that's a lot of time, and I got a full-time job and trying to run this business, Big Willy Fab Shop. So thanks again for SaltGator for sending this out for me to give it a go, and stay tuned because I'll be using this definitely in the future for future projects. Pretty much all I have for this video. Yeah, if you have any questions, comment below. I will respond to all of them. And any questions for SaltGator, you can reach out to their email here or their website here. Big Willy out.